Really looking forward to Season 4. We have a lot in the woodworks, but right now it's Sleep versus Crank as our next matchup.
Sleep versus Crank is going to be a battle between these two Korean players that actually are both teamless at the same time, very interestingly enough. But we'll see how everything fares off on our first map, Entombed Valley. Let's go ahead and kick it off, Andre.
We're kicking it off. Bottom right-hand position as the red Zerg, we have Sleep. And in the top right-hand position as the pink Protoss, we have Crank. Now, I want to ask you something, because Team Liquid has their own team, and they're like the community website, right? Everybody goes there. Reddit is now supporting some players. Of course, they've supported MKP in the past. And they just support random other players as well.
I mean, they had a huge movement for Marine King. I believe to go to MLG Orlando last year.
Yeah. What do you think of a Reddit team?
Like, there actually is a Reddit team, actually. They compete against, like, other communities, and they have, like, these huge show match teams. And, yeah, I know, like, I know, like, a Giant Smurf is on that team. I think Lobber played for that team as well. But imagine having Marine King as your ace. I think that would be pretty
so
good.
sick. But that's what I'm talking about, man.
I would like to sit down with Marine King for one day and just learn half of his build. Just have him write it down. Because apparently Marine King has a book of at least 70 builds. That's what someone on Prime told me and Mr. Bitter one time.
Dang.
70 builds.
I'd love to steal that book.
Like, it's insane. And, like, I mean, it's probably because it's Marine King. Like, he can make any build work. Like, I've seen him go, like third command center as a planetary and turtles until Sky Terran and still win. But, of course, that is
Dude, Sky Terran is actually...
That's like the new movement, right? Sky Terran. Everyone loves Sky Terran.
Actually, just the... What are those, the ships, the main ships? Like carriers, battle cruisers, what are they called again?
The what? The flagship?
No, it's
like the Hyperion? Are you talking about
No,
that?
just like that overall general thing. But anyway,
the mothership?
Sidetracking a little bit. All I'm trying to say is that tier of unit, whatever tier it is.
Tier 3.
Tier 3. The carriers, the battle cruisers. That has been really the consistent way that we've been seeing of actually defeating Zergs. I've seen a lot of Void Ray carrier mothership play coming out from Protosses, and they just supplement that with High Templars. All they're doing, all Terrans and Protoss have been testing is really this turtle-based style where you get super high-tier units and then just overwhelm Zerg because they don't have the ability to really trade efficiently.
Even in PvZ, it comes down to that timing base, the 2-base timings, or you just kind of like turtle and really try to go for that pre-hive timing if you're Protoss, or if you're Zerg, you try to rush for Broodlords depending on how you, depends on how you like to play your style on certain maps. And it's interesting because Sleep has a very distinct ability to take out Protoss. He once was known as a Protoss killer back when he played even the Lone Star Clash, where he just went like through 5 straight Protoss players that were very well established in the scene. So Sleep has good ZVP, but I don't know too much about Crank's PvZ because, I mean, honestly, Crank doesn't get that much exposure other than his stream, which you guys should check out whenever you guys can.
Most definitely. And he will be attending the next MLG, which is awesome.
Under Total Biscuit's sponsorship, which is very nice.
Total Halibut.
Or actually, it's Cynical Brit, to be technical.
Yes, it's his company.
That's right.
It's his company. Of course, he is the CEO.
Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense, too, if you ever meet Total Biscuit, although I feel like... at this point, it's just like, it's really cool to give so many people opportunities, and that's what a lot of people should focus on. Just giving these people opportunities that they never have. That's why we have these qualifiers. We want anyone to be able to enter Season 4. In fact, if you guys are watching and you really want to try out for next Season 4, we have 3 more qualifiers after this. So go ahead and sign up. NASL.TV.
Oh, yeah. A lot of really good players actually are signing up as well, and you could be one of those.
Let's go ahead and actually talk about this game, Andre, now that we're beginning builds.
One gas.
Oh, wow.
So he's going 8-gate. Most likely 8-gate.
Yeah, a 7-gate, it would not be too far off either. But what surprises me that he's not going maybe that early warp gate is that he's not chrono boosting out his warp gate as fast as possible.
Yeah.
With a fast 8-gate or 7-gate, you really pump out chrono boost all onto your Cybernetics core to get out warp gate as fast as you can. And you're actually also aggressive early on with some early Zealot Stalkers.
Wow.
So
You know, I might be completely wrong. I thought it was 8-gate because normally you need a good transition, but this might just be 4-gate. Yeah, it is 4-gate, and then behind that, you're actually putting all those minerals into your third base. This is so weird.
Very, very cool. I've only seen this a couple times on ladder, but that was done by, you know, like a bunch of. That was done a long time ago, and this was when Zergs were being very aggressive with that 3-base roach. So this is very curious to see how this actually pans out, but. I'm just going to wait and see how this turns out.
Yeah. Wow, Twilight Council going down as well, so we might have a continuation to this. Oh, okay, so he's just going for 4-gate defense. He's not even going to try to pressure anything. I mean, as we were talking about, this is just such a weird build coming out from Crank, but it's very innovative. It's really punishing that time when Zergs are normally very defensive, and it might force a couple of units from this, but I don't know. Crank is going to get all of his one Stalker completely surrounded, by the way. In the meantime, Sleep is droning up from here. Is the Warping going to defend this Nexus, or is it going to go ahead and be aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, now that Crank's been able to lay a track of pylons, he can pressure. He does have his third pressured. In fact, the third has been forced to cancel, and Crank does have a Warping coming at this point, spending all of his chrono boost as well, using that fast Twilight Council for +2 weapons as well. This is a very curious. Crank is racking up the minerals because his third base is still not been able to go up.
And Sleep, in the meantime, has been able to tech over to Roaches. He already has Roaches out in the way. The problem is, look at this Destructive Rocks. It's not actually down, so he can't actually kite. And that's going to make it very hard for him to defend the hatchery. The Queen will not go down.
She's okay.
She's okay, but the hatchery, that's the big problem right here. And the hatchery might go down.
The Zealot can actually just target down, but instead choosing to fight. The Queen actually drops. A very nice win there for Crank. More Warpins also going in for the flank as well, trapping a lot of units. Sleeping very indecisive with his Zergling Roaches as well. Not really fighting, trying to avoid everything, and the Zealot's getting lots of shots in. And this third all of a sudden is in jeopardy while Crank is perfectly safe back at home.
Yeah, and don't forget that +1 helps out so much in this position. Crank actually has retained enough Zealots to actually make a Warpin of Stalkers directly after that. Stalkers would be actually so powerful against all the Roaches in this position.
Very cleverly done. In fact, now that he has 4 sentries, this wall is completely safe, and he's going to start off 3 bases compared to his 2. Zealots get surrounded back at the third, but that's perfectly fine. They have served their purpose. And you can see that at this point, Crank is already choosing to deviate just a little bit, adding on more gates and adding on more geysers, and now has a huge economy compared to his opponent.
Oh, yes, most certainly. But in the meantime, we do have a transition over to a Spire Tech. So perhaps he's looking to do 2 base sort of aggression. These 2 Zealots are going to come in here and probably be cleaned up pretty easily. But Sleep, in the blink of an eye, literally just 2-3 minutes. Maybe that's a little bit longer than a blink of an eye. He goes from a great position down to being so far behind.
All right, so at this point, Crank is starting a really quick +3. This is kind of an interesting take on like a creator-style PvZ, where you just rush out really, really fast +3, and you can set up a strong time. You'll finish at about the 14-15-minute mark, and that's actually when Zergs are transitioning to Hive anyways. But the fact is, Crank even took out that third, stalls a significant amount of Sleep's ability to have a healthy supply count. So Crank is going to have a very strong timing in the next couple minutes.
When you only have 2 bases, it's such limited gas. It means if you go something like Colossus, which requires such a huge gas count to defend against it, the Corruptors, of course, and then you need Infestors, that would be great as well, Roaches, Zerglings, etc. Well, you're really starved for gas because you don't have the ability to get all those units and the essential upgrades that you really need. That being said, all Crank really needs to do is start teching over to Colossus and lean on his opponent. Make sure that he can just force as many units out, knowing that he can remake units a lot faster than Sleep can.
I like the use of hallucination as well, because Crank, quite frankly, has been playing very blind until this point. Really needs to get some intel on his opponent, so he can use that really quick with Phoenixes, as well as the fact that he has an observer out, and so that all plays in very nicely. Now, what's interesting is that Crank hasn't really shown that he's going to deviate anything than gateway tech. He's just been pumping out observers. Doesn't have a quick robotics bay on the way either for Colossus. Just on pure stalkers and maybe a zealot or 2 at this point. And just a huge amount of gateway count. This is just very unusual compared to what we usually see.
Yep. a little bit of a diversion attack in the beginning. These Zerglings and Roaches coming up here, and the Muta's going to swing in just to pick off a couple of those probes. It looks like there are Stalkers in the back over here, but as we speak, the one gateway actually goes down. Very nicely done by Sleep, but still, is the damage actually worth it so far? I would say no. Sleep is still very far behind, and he is continuing to make Mutas. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Sleep is not necessarily very behind now in terms of his economy. It's just that his tech is very underdeveloped. You can see that he's just starting like +2 weapons when +3 is already done and +1 armor is finished for Protoss. The fact is, though, Crank's tech has also been slightly delayed by his own choice. Templar Archives is not even done, and it's very, very late into the game when Mutas have already been established. And I think Sleep says, well, it's been a long time in this game. How come he doesn't have as many High Templars? I guess I can just squeeze in more Mutas, and I guess at this point he doesn't want Crank to ever leave his base for any kind of timing.
The big thing is Crank knows he has a big upgrade advantage. You can actually exercise your advantage really easily, knowing that Mutas cost so much gas, and you're not going to upgrade both your air and both your ground. So really start to take advantage of that. Start pushing out with your gateway units, knowing that Protoss really can't do anything else, or excuse me, Zerg can't really do anything else, but I love how Sleep has been so aggressive with taking expansions, and what he's looking to do is actually only take the gas. That way he can actually keep up with the Protoss because he's been so far behind after losing the third.
Ooh, and Sleep going to try to go ahead and bust the third again, but it is a very thick layer wall indeed, and there's Archons now incorporated. Very good intel for Sleep indeed, as he is also trying to poke at the natural. Crank's doing a good job defending thus far while getting out even more upgrades. He's canning up like a madman, but I'm surprised because now Crank should start thinking about either getting a fourth base or forging some kind of timing, because now Sleep is starting to gather himself really well, getting pathogen glands, now getting Baneling speed and Hive tech. And now that Crank has a small window of opportunity, the time is now.
Yes, and it looks like he'll be taking it pretty soon. He kind of has to with the amount of gateway units he's actually produced, because as soon as you see that many gateway units, it's like, oh my god, get infestors, get infestors, get infestors. I need to get these as fast as possible. As soon as infestors pop out, obviously the mobility of this gateway army just plummets. So in this position, yep, Crank is going to go for it. And what do we have from Sleep? Is it going to be a counterattack, or is he going to go back and defend?
Well, he has a huge wall of spines. He can set up a very nice flank, but at this point, he's just going to try to initiate a base trade, or at least summon back the Protoss army, but it is too late. Crank is committed. He can start working on this spine crawler wall. The Banelings roll straight into the Archons, which is what they are for, but now the Mutas and Roaches and Zerglings are working on the natural as well. Crank does not necessarily have a huge anchor point. Most of the time, Protosses love getting Archons and High Templars with a bunch of cannons, but he is warping him back at home, really intent on dealing with this, Andre.
Yes, and what he wants to do is just go directly for the main base. He's taking out the infestation pit, so very important. Roaches are going to go into the third base, not really going to do much. They can probably get around into the probe line and just kill everything.
Back there, he force field off a lot of Banelings, and now they have to force to fall back further into the main. That was a very critical force field indeed from Crank, and now these Banelings don't really have anything to follow up on them, so the vast majority of these units will stay alive. The Roaches and Mutas have pretty much been cleaned up except for this last flock of Mutas, and this is just such an intimidating army that Sleep really can't confront.
Yeah, he can. And the fact of the matter is, Crank has been able to really produce a lot of units at home and clear everything up, and that's the problem now. The Banelings are coming in, but nice force fields yet again. Nice. My goodness, and look at that blinking out, not taking a lot of damage. The Hive and all of these other buildings will go down. There's no way they can stay up. Crank is in a beautiful position, being at 3-2, I believe. 3-2, yes, 3-2 upgrades, where his opponent, he's only at 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, these Mutas have 0 carapace as well, so it's very glass cannon. So even if, for some reason, Sleep was able to summon out an incredible amount of units with his Mutalists and his Zerglings, he just really can't deal with it at all. Crank is just going to fall back to his third base, has a couple of Archons waiting as well. There's nothing really he can do. Crank is now working on what used to be Sleep's third base, and he just has to transition further and further left. There is a wall of spines, but these Stalkers are very, very durable, especially with Blink.
Yeah, and there's nothing really Sleep can do at this point. He needed infestors to deal with this type of gateway army. Because he doesn't, it's not looking good as the Mutas are getting fired upon. Nicely done by Crank, trying to intercept any of those units as possible. But really, as we were talking about, Crank, all he needs to do is just lean on his opponent and rely on his upgrades.
Yeah.
The fact that he invests, and he was able to invest a lot better than his opponent, gives him this ability.
Well, this throws a very interesting mix into things. There's 7 Ultras on the way, and there are still lots of Banelings from Sleep with +2. So if Crank somehow mismanages this and lets a lot of his units get caught, I mean, weird things can happen, Andre, especially with Ultras, and Banelings are just rolling in right now, trying to see if they can go straight onto the army, and Crank takes a massive amount of damage. I guess he doesn't really think there's a big follow-up, but a huge attack also back at the natural at Crank. It's going to come down to the last few buildings for both players at this rate.
Man. And I like this, actually. Sleep, there's not a really great way to actually confront the army of Protoss. Let's go ahead and really try to do the base race. I think base racing in this position is perfect, but look at how many units are over here. A lot of cannons, 6 cannons and a handful of Stalkers, 9 Stalkers out on the field over at the home base. In the meantime, the Stalkers and Archons are just cleaning up all the bases of Sleep, but I don't think this is enough. I mean, the Ultra is only at 2-0. They weren't able to get the chitinous plating out in time.
You can see that at this point, Sleep is now cleaning up a lot, pretty much relegating Crank to just 1 base, but Crank did a very good snipe on the Ultra's Cavern before chitinous plating can finish, and now Crank has finished his spawning pool, and this is the very last base of Sleep, and Sleep has to hold this. He can try to hold up the ramp. I mean, Crank technically has an observer and does have vision on the high ground, and that will help him a lot, but Sleep, I mean, what can you really do? He doesn't have infestors to lock down the army. He's trying to make a Bane nest as well as another spawning pool. He's trying to call back his units also in time to the bottom left, but there are just so many Stalkers. Will he be able to do it? He's going to engage right now. The Ultra's working on the Archon. He needs to be able to work on the other units. The Zerglings are also coming for a flank with the Mules, but it might be a little bit too much from Crank. He's blinking as fast as he can away from the army, really maximizing his units' DPS, and the Stalkers have just way too much damage collectively, and the upgrades really kicking in. Ultras have only +2 armor total because they have no care-based upgrades. The Mules are the only thing standing in the way.
And the Mutas, they're going to win. So Sleep able to hold off the final attack.
He's got 27 supply against 75, 7 drones against 38. And after all has been said and done, Crank has a very, 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 very large lead. And I can't imagine Sleep being able to come back from that. GG gets called out.
And yeah, that was.
It was. It was a good game, man. Very tight.
And you can really see the power of the upgrades in that position. I mean, Zerg really aren't capable of getting those major upgrades. Well, they can get the major upgrades, but not have enough army, or they can get the army, but not have the major upgrades, and that's what we saw.
So many like small things made a difference as well. Like there's 3 Ultras attacking 1 Archon, and like if you just add that DPS, make the Stalkers very weak, force premature blinks, because with things like Ultralists and Blink in general is that you have to try to avoid the massive damage, and so you kind of force Crank to potentially make a mistake, and those kinds of targeting is definitely not. But I mean, at that point, Sleep had a lot of things. He was focusing on his Zerglings and Mutas coming back in. There's just lots of action back and forth. It came down to the wire, but Crank barely ekes one out over his opponent.
And that being said, we're going to go into game 2, ladies and gentlemen, after this break, so don't go anywhere. Sleep versus Crank after this.